Ooh. Okay, let's see here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I'm trying to figure some things out here real quick. Just trying to get the audio set up. But hello, welcome back. This is another live stream. We are once again going to be doing another page from a children's book that I'm currently working on for JoyWorks Networks. It is the same book that I worked on a couple weeks ago, but it's a different page. So if you're here, welcome back. Good to see you. What we're going to do now is this is actually my working file that you're seeing here for setting up OBS. So what we're going to work on now is a little more complicated page this time. I figured the last time I was able to kind of get through things really quickly. And so I think what I'm going to do now is do a little bit more of a complicated piece. Not super complicated. It's just going to have some other elements, more background elements and what have you. So again, thank you for joining. If you're here, if you watch this later on as just a regular video and you want to fast forward, you can kind of see the process. I don't know if I'll be able to finish the whole thing in 2 hours. Again, it's a little more complicated than the one I worked on last week. But it should be a lot of fun. You'll see a lot more different things, different approaches, because I'll be doing more background stuff than I did with the last one. So yes, let me open up Photoshop here. Let me find the file, and then we will get started. Probably should have had this already up, but you know. Excuse me. I hope everyone's doing well. It's cold everywhere else except here in California, Southern California, where I am. In Texas, I guess it's just snowed in. Got some people that I know. My wife has some people that she knows that are just without power, which is crazy. For like a couple days now, in freezing cold temperature. So let's see here. Here's the piece right here. Just as before, I already had completed the sketch. So this a couple iterations, and so I landed on this. It's about him, the chef, baking a carrot cake that the excuse me, the Harriet, the bunny, comes and sees him in here baking a carrot cake. So instead of the 3 little illustrations like I did last week, this is just one big one. It's going to have some background elements, probably more just shape based and color based than anything else. Yeah, but you'll see kind of how it works. I am going to I'll do him first. It's a little more interesting, and then I'll do the background. I don't know if that's really the best way to do it. That's just the way that I'm doing it now. Normally, I care more about what the color of the characters are and how they're painted and how they look, and then the background secondary. So that way, if I do this beautiful background, and then I then paint the character with the color palette that I've already chosen, and all of a sudden it clashes, I'm not going to change the color of the character. I'm going to change the color of the background, because that, it's a one-off, for the most part, will be a one-off situation. So I will do the color that I know is locked in, which is the color of the character, because he appears a couple times in the book, and I already figured him out. I've already done a couple pages with him. So I know what he's going to be, and then I'll make the background kind of cohesive with him and what he's doing. So let me just do one more final check. Excuse me. A little bit of different camera angle this time. Again, just trying to figure this all out. I'm just going to make sure that I'm running everywhere that I need to be running. Okay. Yep. I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Twitch, and I'm on everywhere. So yes, as far as I know, it's working. So again, welcome back if you were here last time, or if you are watching this as a pre-roll, or not pre-roll, trying to sound professional, as a viewer, as a friend, whatever, if you wanted to see again how kind of my process is and how I work. This is how I do it. Yeah. So I also had some music this time. I'm a little worried about playing it. Should be okay, but I had a feeling once I played the music, my mic wasn't working, which would not be a good thing. Let me try it again right now. Let me see. It says the audio is on. Let me turn up the volume here, and I'll turn it up here. I don't know how loud it is coming on your side. If anybody comes into the room and wants to chat, hey, it's working on Twitch. Thank you, Janet. I'm gonna play some music real light. It's just kind of, I actually draw to this music quite often. It's called lo-fi, like chill music. Normally no lyrics, just kind of beats and just something that kind of background noise. I know some people like to listen to soundtracks, and everyone has their thing. Actually, I just talked to Janet about it the other day. I am really into like true crime stuff, so I have been watching on YouTube, well, listening while watching a lot of stuff while I'm drawing these kids' books, and it's all about murder and the exact opposite of what I'm drawing, which is happy, fluffy, cutesy things. And then, you know, I'm listening to, you know, something about how some guy murdered all these people. So, you know, to whatever gets your creative juices flowing, you do that. But music-wise is normally what I listen to. Is I will listen to just something, there's kind of beats that just kind of keep going. So that's what I'll be playing in the background. Again, if it's too loud, I'm sorry, I can't really tell. I can kind of monitor a little bit here to see how loud it is. So hopefully it's not too bad. So let me drop it down just a little. I just want it barely in the background. All right, guys, let's do this. If you're new and this is the first time, I'll kind of explain a little bit what I'm doing, and then as the stream rolls on, I'll probably won't be explaining as much as I did last time of what exactly I'm doing. You'll just get to watch. But yeah, feel free to chat if you want. Feel free to whatever you need to do. If you just want to watch, that is good too. So all right, so let's get going here. Ugh. And hopefully you can hear me okay. Again, I've kind of rearranged everything, microphones and all that stuff, so hopefully it's not something crazy. And hopefully I'm not choppy. I fixed some settings to make it so it looked a little more clean, but not so choppy. All right, so here we go. Make sure you can see everything on here. Yep. Yep. I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna close out these. I'm gonna trust that it's working. I'm gonna close out these tabs. I'm gonna close everything out just so I have just the feed. All right, here we go. I'm gonna work on him. I know his whole color palette, so it's kind of the easiest place for me to start. Again, I always work back to front. I create shapes, and then within those shapes, I fill them out. Excuse me, what's going on? I know what lives behind what. I'll kind of be thinking about that. I'm going to put these drawings in a folder, and I'm going to drop the opacity of them so I can see through them a little bit, so you'll see it kind of get a little bit lighter. I'm just dropping the opacity. So whatever I color behind it, I always do stuff behind the drawing so I can at least keep seeing the drawing so I'm not covering it up. And I'll forget and not do them in the right order, or I'll think something's behind, or I'll just get reminded and I'll have to change. So we know right here that his arm is behind everything. So I can do his arm first. So I'm just creating a shape. And again, I picked 2 arbitrary colors. Just to kind of show I know what is filling with the color. And there we go. It's actually a little too saturated. I need to be able to see the drawing. So if I do that, and then I do this again, perfect. See, I can still see the drawing behind it. Worst case scenario, I can always bump up the opacity a little bit to see the drawing a little more. So that's where his arm's going to live. And then behind that is the bag. And we know the bag lives like this. And I know the bag lives like this. And he's squeezing it with both hands. I recently made some cupcakes for my kid. So that's where this is a little bit inspired from for Valentine's Day. And then I fill that with color. You'll see these things pop up from time to time, and it's just because they're like, I have shortcuts, so I have hotkey shortcuts that will do multiple things. So when you learn more and more about Photoshop, you know, you can do the thing where you click buttons to do everything, and then there's shortcut keys, which is like, you know, S is for save, blah blah blah, all that easy stuff. But then you can actually set up whole key chains, they're called actions on Photoshop, that will do a bunch of different things for you with one keystroke. And so that's what I'm doing. So when when you're seeing me draw a shape, and it's just these little dancing ants, and I want to fill them in, you know, you could go the long way and go to, you know, select, fill with what color, blah, blah, blah. And then from there, I would make a new layer and then do another one. So what I have it all automated. So as soon as I draw the shape and I like it, I can just hit a key, which is F10. And it'll fill the shape, unselect, create a new layer, and then select that new layer and go back to the same lasso tool that I was using, just with one key. So I can kind of just keep moving faster and faster with it, which is good. All right, so we have that. We have the bag. Now we're going to do his hands. And I generally tend to do hands as like big shapes. I might go in here, and I probably will go in here and break up the fingers or draw some fingers. But for the most part, we'll just kind of keep it real loose shapes. And you might see me change the color from time to time. Like, I don't want to do green or purple because it might get lost. So then I'll just pick another arbitrary color to fill it with. Just so I know the separation between everything. So that lives on top of that, lives on top of that. And right here you can see his shoulders in front of his head. So that means I need to do his head next. This is how I'm just thinking out loud. So then what I do here is now I'm looking at his head. So what's behind his head is normally the ears. I'll do the ears first and fill that in. And then I'll do the general head shape. You might see me do this a couple times over and over. I can kind of just, when you see me going over, I'm just kind of figuring it out. And then, you know, like right then I didn't like it. So I tend to do more circle heads, but sometimes I'll add a little bit of an oval to it just to kind of give it a little something. And again, with all of these shapes, I can always go back in and change them, which is the beauty of Photoshop. Some business in the back here, locking some layers and stuff. Keep looking at my chat just in case. There we go. Now let me see what the chat's going on like here. So to make sure I'm seeing if anybody's saying anything. Yep. I think it would pop up here if they were. Here we go. So make sure I'm back here live. Yeah, no. Oh, nice. Like the music. Cool. Hey, how's it going? Is the music loud? I'm gonna ask you. You seem to be, you're in here right now, at least for a second. Is it a pretty good balance between my voice and the music? Perfect balance. Perfect. Yeah, I can't really tell. Because I'm listening to it too. I have an option to turn it off, but it'll also kind of let me know where, especially if the song is bad or whatever. I just have it on some. There's a that's some of the troubles you deal with when you're streaming, is trying to find music, because everything's licensed, and so you don't want to play unlicensed music. So I did a big search on trying to figure out what you can play, how you can play it. I was going to use Spotify, but it plays ads, and who wants to listen to some ads? And I ran across a playlist on Apple, which I am. A big giant carrot cake, and so I was able to find a playlist that has hopefully royalty-free music. I will know if I get banned or whatever, or this video gets taken down. It'll be because that wasn't true, but it should be true. I researched as much as I could. Okay, now I'm kind of cranking out these eyes. Again, all these shapes can be changed, and they probably will, knowing me. Got some eye shapes here. I mean, who doesn't like cake? I'm definitely, let's see, am I a cake? Definitely a cake over pie person. But probably cookies over cake. Sorry. I think cookies over cake. Especially like a carrot cake. A lot of people put raisins in there, and raisins are just flat out disgusting. And I guess we can fight about that all day, but in the end, I know that I'm right. It is disgusting. All right, so I'm getting the hat here done. I wish there was a little chime when people. There probably is. If people chat. Let's see. Cake before pie, potato chips before cake. Oh, so now we're breaking down all food in general, doing a hierarchy of what food is better than others. Let me see if I agree with you. Cake before pie. Okay, yep. Potato chips before cake. So you'd rather eat just plain potato chips? All right. You know, to each his own. I don't hate that, but I don't know. That seems a little potato chips before pretzel before potato chips. Uh-oh, we're starting a food debate in here, which is fantastic. Pretzel rods before potato chips. This is getting out of hand. I mean, we're going down a rabbit hole that I don't know we want to go down. Because what's going to be left? That's sick. I mean, to each his own. I mean, pretzels would be a healthier choice, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I think you lost me with you would have potato chips over cake. That sounds crazy to me. That's pretty awesome. I wasn't even thinking of a snack. I was thinking of desserts, and then you pull out this potato chip card. I don't think but I wouldn't normally eat like a plain potato chip. That would be really strange. All right, I know I'm stalled a little bit here just talking, which is awesome. But I'm looking, I did a chef's hat already. I just want to make sure that I am making it in the same style. So I don't want to give too much of the book away. So I'm just making sure that, because it looks a little different than what I have in this drawing. I had figured out a different way of doing the chef's hat, which is a little more like this. So yeah. So you'll notice I will do stuff on the fly like this and change things even though it's not in the drawing. I'm looking at another drawing off screen to kind of know what the general shape of it is. This is okay. You know what? No, I don't love it. But I have it go up and then create these little bumps and then come back down. I feel like I'm missing a bump here. So I could just like bump. I'll go with that. Just for the sake of moving on. That shape will definitely change. But I can even go in here and I can change the shape you know, like this. And there's a cool option that I've been using, which is in Photoshop, which is warp. And it lets like push and pull all kinds of like little points within here. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but it definitely lets it so you can finesse the shape a little bit and then select it. It's going to be hard to see because the drawing's here. I mean, I can see it. I'm turning off the drawing. It looks so simple when I do it like this. It looks like anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. You can do it out there. If you're an inspiring artist, just like to draw. I mean, look how simple this is. Come on. I know you got this in you. You can do this right now. It's just kind of how you finesse it. And I'm still working myself on finessing stuff. I still feel like my level of detail isn't where it could be. So I strive every day to do a little bit better, add a little bit more detail to what I'm doing, what I'm drawing, and still keeping my same style, keeping my same voice. That is definitely something that I'm constantly growing, constantly trying to improve. So anyways, here we go. Here is, we got the hat, we got that. Again, these shapes are going to change, but the general idea is there. I don't know if you've ever watched like artists that you really like do their thing. And it's pretty interesting because a lot of times I'll see them and they will be, this is the shape behind his arm, by the way. It doesn't have to be this big. I'm just kind of making it really big, obnoxious for a reason, but it's behind his head too. Some artists I'll see and I'm like, they have beautiful pieces of art when the finished product, but like, you know, halfway through or even more than halfway through, I'm looking at it and it doesn't look even close to what the final product is. And then at the very end, they add all their details and all their extra things, and all of a sudden it becomes, you know, the piece that you would know them to do. So it's just interesting for me watching process and how people do things and how simple everything kind of starts, because everything always kind of starts real blocky and real shapy because you're just trying to figure it out, and then from there you're putting the details in, and that's kind of where everything starts to shine, or just become your own, really. All right, so I'm gonna have his hand behind his coat, so I'm gonna do the shape of his hand, and I know it looks weird, but it's a hand, trust me. We'll see. And then now I know that this is the next big shape here, which is this with the sleeve, and then it comes back around, and let me do that. Yep, and then nothing will live behind it. His body will live behind it. So that's it. It's that, it's the arm, his body's behind it. That's it. So have we figured out this chip debate thing yet? See, now it's starting to look a little bit like it. Just a little bit. All right, so there we go. We basically got him. I'm looking at the drawing again, and I'm seeing that the little end nozzle needs to come out. And we need to see the end of the nozzle, and we're not seeing it here. So again, this is where I'm going to kind of finagle, fix this drawing. I'm going to kind of get I might actually even redraw some more of this. So I'll go back in, I'm going to pick this color. I'm actually going to go in with a brush, just a simple flat brush, and really put in this peak here. Let me zoom in. So I'm just putting in the nozzle part where all the stuff's going to come out. And it's kind of cheating with his hand a little bit here, but I think that'll be okay. I can always get rid of it. This way. But no, I liked it better the other way. We're gonna keep it. We'll keep it. Salt plus sugar. Okay. Oh, salt is greater than sugar. Sorry, I'm looking at it really small. Oh, I don't know. Again, here we go with this food debate. Is salt better than, I mean, you ask my wife and she just loads everything with salt. She loves it. So I don't know if I'll be in that camp. Sorry. I want to be. I mean, it's all great. All of it's good. But salt. You'd rather have salt over sugar? I thought that I would grow out of that and feel the same way, but I'm still a big sweets guy. I'm all about sweets. Okay, so there's the dude. There's the dude. I say dude a lot. Actually, the other day, I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I always say dude. I'm like, come on, dude, let's go, dude. Called her dude the other day, and she let me have it. She has a teacher named Miss Shannon, and she said, Miss Shannon said I'm not a dude, I'm a girl. And then she got really mad about it that I called her a dude. But I will say, I'm gonna keep calling her a dude. Because I'm the father and I can. But also I call everybody dude. And you know, that seems a little unfair. That I can't call a lady dude. Is that unfair? It's kind of like when I say, hey you guys, how you guys doing? Like I just use that in general. Maybe that's not the right thing to do. Hey everybody. I've just been doing it my whole life. I'm an 80s, 90s kid. I still say rad and cool, and to me, guys is just everybody in general. See, salt and vinegar. All right. Salt and vinegar chips are really good. But if you had a bag of that, or like a chocolate cake, I mean, chocolate cake's no brainer. It's gonna get eaten. And you put that out. You put those two options out in front of at a party. Like, I mean, I guess the chips would get eaten first because no one's gonna dive into the chocolate cake at a party. That's at the end. No one wants to go in for that first slice. They're gonna be too shy or whatever, embarrassed. So be that person that takes that first slice. You know, start that trend at the party, and the next thing you know, the cake is gone and the chips will still be there. All because of a cake drawing. Who'd have thought? Okay, let's look at it. Yep, there's the dude. Let's just paint him. Let's paint him. I'll figure out these shapes. Like this hat looks funky, so I need to fix it up. I need to figure out how to get this thing back going again. So brush, there we go to clear mode. I lost my shortcut thing, so I'm gonna have to do this by hand. Whoa. So this is looking a little funky. This isn't kind of looking what I wanted it to look like. So I need to fix this shape. So I'm gonna choose it, and then I'm gonna add like an extra little bubble here. Let's see. I'll at least make it the same color, so that way we kind of know what it looks like. That's pretty good. And then I kind of want to add a little one there too. I mean, it's kind of looking less and less like a chef's hat. Just take the whole bag of chips. Okay, that sounds good. Thanks. That sounds like a great deal. I'm gonna raise these shapes up again. See, again, like I'm just kind of figuring it out, fixing it. It just still looks super funky to me. I could just steal the hat from the other drawing, which I have done before, is I will steal a drawing that I already did, because why reinvent the wheel? Yeah, because I don't know. This hat is... Maybe when I'm painting it, we'll see. We'll paint it, I'll change shape. I think maybe because it's tapered, it almost looks like it's his hair. But I think it's because I haven't painted it yet. Alright, so here we go. Let's start painting a little bit. So over here I have some, again, I don't think I have it in view, so I'll bring it out here. Here's my library of colors. Broken down, so there's JoyWorks here. These are like all the characters that I've worked on so far. This is a great addition to Photoshop if you have the newest one. I think that it's been around for a while, but I have the cloud, so I have the newest one at all times. I don't want to brag. But with it, you can have libraries of colors. And so I have different gigs here. I did a book, another kid's book, but there's my library of everything for JoyWorks, and I can export this out if anybody ever needs the colors. You know, this is, again, I think I talked about it before, but you know, a lot of people will create swatches on the page and then color pick from those swatches to then color their piece. This kind of eliminates that, and it'll save itself across the board. And you can easily save colors in here, and then you can rename them, and it doesn't change. And so I can just, and then once you click on it, you choose the color. It'll just choose it. So you see I have like all the different colors that I need from his hair, cheeks, eyes. He has yellow eyes. You'll see what happens when I do that. Anyway, so then I'm just selecting this stuff and his skin, and I'm just coloring it. So it looks really weird because it's just changing from one color to the other. The chef's clothes are a little hard when you start doing stuff that's white, but like I said before, I never choose pure white ever. It's always some form of some tint of yellow or some kind of creamy white, and you'll see, even if I'll turn off, I'll make this background absolute pure white, and you'll see you can still kind of see. It's very vague, but it's interesting. That's what your eye does. I talked about this before in the other stream, but that's why a lot of people, including myself, will paint or color on something that's grayscale, or not grayscale, but like a tinted gray. It kind of gives you a more realistic idea of what the color is going to be for reals. If you color on white, if you paint on white, generally everything will be brighter in my experience, just because you're trying to match that intensity of the white. So if you have a gray, it kind of, it kind of makes everything, it gives like an even tone. I learned this a lot when I was taking my art classes. When we were doing any kind of painting, I used to do like landscape painting and stuff. We would have a primed board, and it would just be primed with gray. So it was just this gray color, very medium tone. I don't know if any other artists out there watching, either live or when you watch the feed, like you might do that. You just paint it gray, and then on top of that, you'll paint all your colors on top. And sometimes in painting, it'll actually react to whatever color you put on top. If the color's not opaque enough, it'll kind of come through. But digitally, you can choose for it to come through by the opacity. But I will always use like a gray background to paint on, because if you paint in white, I just noticed that there's a huge difference in how the colors look. Eventually, I'll turn the white on, but I seldom will use pure white. I don't think I ever use pure white ever. And same with pure black. I'll never use pure black. I'll use like a bluish, a really deep gray blue or something for a black. All right, so let's continue on. All right, so let's do the eyes. Oh, hello. It's not undoing anything. I'm a little worried that it's... Okay, let me save this out. And make sure these eyes are in the right spot. Nope. Put them in the right spot. Turn the drawing back on. All right, here we go. So I have eyes here that I've been using other people's eyes. So instead of copying and doing it, I've been... Oh, hello, Cat. Cat's in the house. Thanks for joining, Cat. All right, yeah, those are way whiter, but they're still not pure white. I want to show you. Here's actually the color picker I use for any other artists out there. Photoshop has one. I just like this one better. If anybody else uses Photoshop, it's an actual plugin that you use for Photoshop, and it just kind of gives you more options. It looks more like Painter, but you can do the triangle, this guy. You can limit what colors you use inside. So I generally will use a square for the most part. This is kind of my generic go-to. Because like I said before, I kind of live everywhere in here when it comes to coloring everything. I'll do some outliers, but it's normally here and then grayscale here. But it also has like a color history right here, which is great. And then also you can save swatches, which is the same thing as this that I'm doing here. But sometimes for quick drawings or quick things that I'm doing, you can just literally drag the color here and then it just kind of saves it. And then you can just right click it and it'll get rid of it, which is great. It has other options too, like history, not history, but like tone stuff. It's great. But anyways, guys should pick it up. But I was saying that here's the color here, and you can see it's not pure white. It's living very close to the edge. And then same with his chef's clothes. It's way over here. So it may look like white, but it's not. It's not. That way it has somewhere to go. That's kind of how I imagine it when I'm using it. Like as soon as you go pure black or pure white, you have nowhere to go with it. It's just, that is what it is. You can't go any darker. If it's white, you can't go any lighter. So live somewhere in the middle. All right, so let's just do this again. So here's the eyes. I'll pick the eyes. Whoa. Pick the eyes. There we go. His nose, I know, is the same color as his skin. The hair I need to do, the cheeks, and then the icing back. Okay, so yeah, his nose disappeared, which I know is weird. I'll do his mouth this pink color, which is the same as his cheeks. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna take away this. I don't know why this timeline. Another gig. So again, I'll fix the shape. So let's just start painting so you guys can at least see what I do when I paint. I use this brush at 50%, and I just, oh, that's not it. I got to choose his skin color, and that's even too dark. So I'm going to go 25%. That's an opacity number, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Here we go. I'm just kind of coloring his skin over. Again, if I go too far, it's on a brush type called multiply, which means that each time I do it, it gets a little bit darker. Technically, I think it would go to black if I let it. But yeah, so now I'm just lightening it up because I went a little too far. And then I have these cheeks, which I do on a different layer, and I'll just do it now. So there's cheek colors. I'll use this 50, and I'll just kind of lightly put some cheeks on them. It's real subtle. Sometimes it's not even noticeable, but it just adds a little something extra. Go back to his nose. Go back to the brush. And I gotta make his nose a little bit darker to make it pop out. I've colored this character before, so I kind of know what I'm doing with them. And for this book, I've decided to do these kind of noses. I've struggled with noses in different kinds, but these are the ones that I am doing now for this book. And it changes up. Too dark, too dark. Back to normal. I don't normally use that drop down. I just don't have, my shortcuts aren't working on my little remote. Normally use this nifty little remote that came with the Cintiq. You can assign every single one of these buttons. For some reason, normally it's plugged in, but for some reason it does not want to talk to my Photoshop. I mean, to my computer. All right, so there's the eyes. Again, these aren't pure white. They look like it. But as soon as I use this multiply brush, you'll kind of see it just ever so slightly. There's like a little bit of texture on there. I don't know if you can see, but I try to put a little bit of texture on there. And there's his dead white eyes, looking as creepy as can be. I'm still going to use this 50%, and I'm using, I don't want to use the cheek thing, I got to use the chef's. So now I'm just adding a little bit of texture. This is like his hat part, and then again I need to go to his clothes, and I'll do the same thing up here. which you'll see almost looks kind of like yellow a little bit. It looks more yellow because it's on this. It's on this this gray background. I'm going to add some detail lines and stuff to kind of make that hat look a little better. Kind of jumping around here, but I'm going to do his ears, and I like to do 25%. I like to keep it, I do a little darker, you know, just to kind of make it jump from his head. It's a little unnatural lighting. I mean, it doesn't really get lit like that, but it makes it so the ears pop off from the head. Yep, you kind of go back and forth. And then how do we have his eyes looking? Let's fill his eyes in. So his eyes, I have him looking down like that. So, so I'll choose his eyes. I then make another layer, and then I'm going to draw these circles like this. I'm going to turn off the drawing, and you'll see what's about to happen. So now I can do, basically made a mask, and then just to make it a little cleaner, I'll just do this and I'll fill it. And there's his eyes. And then I can go in there with this, and I know it's weird to have gold eyes, but what I did for him, because I want him to have just like dark brown eyes, if I just keep going over this with multiply, now his eyes turn, you know, nice and dark. But there's just something to, you know, having it start with that gold color. That's really cool, because it'll have that underneath, and it's not necessarily the end all be all. It won't look like that, but again, this is just me experimenting with color and playing with color and figuring out, like, I can start way lighter, and then I'll eventually get to that dark color that I want to get to. And so sometimes what I'll do is, you know, like I'm starting here, but I know if I'm using multiply, it'll go deeper, darker, and darker. So if I know that the color I want lives somewhere down here, you know, these dark browns here, I can even choose them. You know, somewhere around here is where I can just keep going darker and darker. And I'll eventually get that color. So I might as well start really light, because then you can do fun things like you'll see here with his eyes. It just has like a little bit of this, like this golden glow on the outside, this golden hue. Just adds a little something extra, you know. It's not much, but you do enough of these things where it's just little bits, and all of a sudden it just makes the piece look a little better. It looks a little more alive. And this is, again, something that I've just learned through doing color myself. Practicing color, and it does take a lot of practice. All right, so we're still not done with his head. I haven't given him hair, so I'm going to do this on top of everything, because I want it to stick on top of, I want it to stick over his hat too. So I'm going to do, again, I'm just kind of improvising that. So I'm selecting these two areas. Again, I could paint these in with a brush. Just for this book, I've been doing it this way, in the style, so I'm not going to deviate from the style. But sometimes I'll do it where I'll draw the shape with a textured brush to give it a little more, like almost like a fuzzy kind of a look. But to keep these books cohesive, I keep them the same, which is what you should do. You don't want to have like your first book and your 10th book look completely different. You kind of have to stay in your wheelhouse. And what I find out through myself, you know, this will be the third book that I'm working on. But I've done other drawings and other things also for JoyWorks. But you know, my drawing's getting a little different. My style's getting a little different. I'm learning stuff. I'm getting a little better. But you still have to keep that consistency with the original ones. And so it's a little hard, because you do have to control yourself a little bit and not put all this new stuff or new flair or new things that you've learned, new colors, treatments, or whatever. Because if you do that, and then like I said, your 10th book is so different than your first, it won't be cohesive. So, you know, that's why maybe you do other projects where you practice those things. But you kind of, once you kind of nail down that style, you should probably stick with it. If it's like your characters or whatever, if it changes drastically, then it won't be the same. But it's just hard, because as an artist, you grow and you get better, hopefully. And you know, there could be worse things. All right, so I'm doing this now. I'm coloring his hair. That was not So let's do that. Whoa, and then boom. And then I'll color his hair again. So there, going in, kind of making the hair a little darker. All right. Looks pretty good. He has his little tufts of hair. He looks pretty happy. The eye shapes are a little wonky. You see, I normally kind of like this imperfection, but it might be a little bit too much. I'm kind of doing a little bit different. Normally I would kind of go back in and then finesse these things afterwards, but since I'm doing this live stream, it's kind of, I know that people won't stay for the whole 2 hours. So if you come in, I'm trying to give you a little bit of everything that I do in chunks. So if you stick with me, I'll be starting to do another part of the illustration, the background or whatever. But that looks pretty good. I'm a little worried about this tangent. So if you don't know, the artists out there, there's tangents are just when things get too close to each other and they're just about touching, but they're not. And that creates like a weird tension in your mind. You might not even know. And there'll be directors and artists that will actually use it as an element to actually create tension. They'll put a bunch of things, they'll create a bunch of tangents to make your eye look at that one specific thing. So it's definitely a tool you can use, but for the most part, if you're drawing stuff, like even this is a tangent. So this is a tangent and this is almost not a tangent, but because you can go over and the negative space between is the same thing. So I kind of need to make a decision here. Like, am I going to do it under or over? And I think I'm going to do it under, just so it doesn't look, I don't want it to feel like it's ill-fitting because this dude is a professional. But if it was like somebody that I wanted to make it look goofy or like oversized, then yeah, I would do it where I would make it oversized and like a little kid in mommy or daddy's clothes, So right now I'm using a brush and I'm just kind of chipping away the eyeballs a little bit. I could move them down. See here, I shaved a little too much, so now I gotta go back. And I'm just kind of finessing this a little bit. And since I did the drawing underneath, you'll see the eyeballs will keep going because the shape underneath, it's just the way that I use masks and stuff. I can go in there and it still stays painted, which is a good little trick that I've learned. I will say his face doesn't have that much dimension, so I want to go back into the color of the face. I'll choose my 25% so it's really light. And I'll kind of go in and I'm just going to make this a little bit darker. I'm going to create like a little bit of separation, just to kind of get a little more dimension in his face, and then same with like under where his hat is, it would be a little bit darker. Sometimes by his nose, his hair. I don't want to go too nuts. I don't want to make him too dark. That looks a little better. But now I need to go in and finesse this ear a little bit to kind of match, because I did make it darker just to get that ear more separation. There we go. Let's do his coat now. The coat I've been finding has been tricky for me because whenever I'm dealing with characters that are wearing white, I can only do so much separation with this color before it starts to look like another color. It looks yellow. I don't want it to look yellow. So sometimes I'll go and I'll dip down into like a gray. So I'm choosing a gray just to kind of give it that little extra, you'll see just a little, it's tough though. You ride that fine line of it being looking like it's dirty, which you don't want. I mean, maybe you want it. If you want dirty clothes, I mean, why not? So I'm choosing this arm behind now, and I'm going to do this, the thing that makes it kind of yellow, and you're not really seeing anything. I know it might be hard, especially in these the feed, if it's not that high def, you'll notice that you can't really see what's happening, but stuff's happening, trust me. So I had this little bit of gray down here, seeing that now we're just giving a little bit of separation to the arm. A little bit, might have gone too much, but I'd rather go too much than too little, because I can always go big like that choose the color of his coat again, go with the normal brush and kind of go back over and kind of, you know, soften it up. Again, I tried to make things too soft though. I like the rough texture of everything on the skin and the nose. That's why I use the brushes that I do in Photoshop. It's definitely my style, is to have these textured brushes do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Yeah, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go back to a multiply to try to make this a little, yellow it up a little bit so it's not so white. All right, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, looks pretty good. Step back. Let's look at the drawing again. It's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty spot on. A little bit of a tangent with his eyeballs still when you get this far away, so I might shave those off a little bit. I can even drop them down actually. So if I choose his eyeballs, again, this is the beauty of Photoshop. I can just do a couple clicks, and if you really look closely, his eyes are moving down ever so slightly. Yep, there we go. And just like that. Save this out. Hope everybody watching is still doing good. I'm just going to kind of keep going. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any questions after the fact, you know, this is on YouTube as well. It's on Facebook, so feel free to ask questions after. I will make sure that I check it out and see if anybody wrote anything. Kind of adding this texture under his arm. It's like a shadow almost. I don't know if it's going to be too much. It looks a little much. And again, this is me figuring out what's happening. Story of my life. I'm going to choose his color again, go back to normal, and then paint over his chef color, and it'll kind of just lighten it up a little bit. So what you learn in Photoshop, for the most part, is you're doing a lot of opacity things, for me personally, is how I work. Some people will just paint on one layer and just kind of keep molding it, whittling it, and making it what they want it to be. And that's the beauty of using, you know, working digitally, is I kind of do the same thing. You know, I'll paint it that really dark color just because I know it needs it, and then I can kind of push back a little bit and keep painting on top of it, and there's no paper to ruin, there's no light over dark things when it comes to paint, where sometimes the paint will start mixing. So it's nice. Working digital is nice. All right, so he's looking good. He's got his little pastry bag. Normally the pastry bags are white. I think I'm gonna make it like a blue, and then that way it can have like a little bit of the frosting in there. I know this is a weird line here, but that'll all get taken up by the cake. See, the cake's gonna block it. The cake is going to block it. I'm gonna check, take a break for 1 second. I'm gonna check Facebook, see how things are going. I don't know if I get messages from Facebook if people are saying anything. Oh, yep, there's people writing in Facebook. So hello, Rebecca. She's on Facebook, which I don't know if this came up in the feed here. That's why I'm writing hi in the chat. 38 minutes ago. Oh man. So maybe it did and I missed it. All right, we're gonna keep going. All right, so there we go. Let's do this. Let's do this little bag here. Hope everyone's doing all right. We got again. I know it's cold everywhere except here. A lot going on. We still got to wear those masks. We still got to do our part. Stay safe. Heard that they're opening up some schools, which is a good sign. I hope. I don't know. Who knows with all this stuff, right? We're just all trying to get by. We're all trying to stay happy. Continue to have joy in our life. That's what JoyWorks is all about. Oh, so good. I'm so good. But it is. That's why I like working for this company and working with Janet. It's all about staying positive, and sometimes you have a bad day. I have lots of them. I'm an extremely moody person. That's my wife. Very moody. And all this stuff that's going on doesn't really help. But you do have to take a step back and kind of enjoy the good things. I've been doing Peloton-esque bike riding things, and they have people there, super positive people, which is kind of nice. And this lady talked about like whatever, like however bad you think you got it, and you hear this all the time, however bad you think you got it, like someone out there has it worse. It was basically that, but for some reason the way that she worded it, it just resonated with me, because it was something about like what you're doing right now, someone out there would be thrilled to be doing that. And she was talking about riding a bike, exercising, riding the bike, and you kind of take that for granted. You think exercise, it's a pain and it's hard, but there is some kind of like joy in knowing that you can do that, because there's people who can't even ride a bike. Either they can't afford a bike, even if it's running. Like some people just can't run, and so and they have joy, they find joy, and they find happiness in things. And so if you're sitting here kind of whining about working out, you got to kind of look at yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, at least I can. That's kind of cool. I can sit here and draw. Like, I'm super lucky. I draw for a living. It's what I went to school for. It took a long time to get here. I wasn't doing this right off the bat. It took a long time to get to where I'm at. And, some of it was a little bit of luck. Some of it is, just persistence. There's a lot of talented people out there, for sure. But you just got to kind of keep trying and keep doing your thing. But just be grateful for the things that you have. And sometimes it's hard. It's easier said than done, that's for sure. So a lot of times, when stuff like that happens, you got to really think. You got to make yourself feel that way. I know it sounds weird, but you do. You got to make yourself think positive thoughts. If you do enough, it becomes easier and easier. So I've been told. Enough of that life lesson stuff. I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but it's what happens when you're drawing for a couple hours and you're just talking. Talking into the void. So right now I'm filling up this bag with I'm going to do some orange frosting. So that's why I'm kind of leaving this edge here to kind of give the illusion that it's full of frosting. Delicious frosting on a cake. Oh, call back to cake. Cakes before chips. That sounds like a really dumb username that I will take. Cakes before chips. All right, and I'm going back into the orange, and I'm going to add a little bit of texture to this. Just a little bit, just to kind of give it something. I tend not to leave stuff flat. I probably should experiment with just leaving stuff flat colors. Some of my favorite artists do that, but I have a real tendency not to. All right. So there's the orange frosting, and it needs to be coming out. And so I know that these bags, because like I said before, I just made some for my daughter, they have little tips. And so I'm going to do this little tippy tip, and a tippy tip. It's a little bit of a tangent, so I'm going to try to go a little bit lower on this tippy tip. Excuse me, I have a real problem today. Tippy tip. What color am I going to make this tippy tip? I have no idea. Something not distracting. That's for sure. Something not distracting. Maybe a little bit darker than that, just so you know that it's the tip. Save it out. You know what? Let's do pink. Because why not? Right? Kind of painting it and then going back to multiply. Again, for all the people who are watching this now or later, I normally have a shortcut for that. Yes, I know. For me to be jumping back and forth is ridiculous. Or doing pull down menus for any professional Photoshopper to be offended. But my shortcut thing is not working right now. All right, so we got a lot of him done. Let's take a look at him. I gotta add some more detail on the hat, but this is kind of him. Oh, his hands. Duh. Here we go. Do some brushing. But again, you see how much work the brush does. It's really the brush doing all the work. Let's be honest here. Get his hand up here. Kind of give it a little bit darker on the edges. And this, I know this thumb's going over, so I mean technically it should be just darker under here. That's getting a little too dark for my taste. Plus I'm going to add some fingers here, so I'll show you how I do this. So there's two ways I can do this. I actually I pick the skin color raw, and then I will choose, I have two brushes here I like to use, this cartoon liner brush or an animation, it's called Mr. Natural. So I can do it two ways. I can do that by drawing some lines here like this, which actually looks pretty good. I've been doing that for the most part. And then I will add a little bit, I'll make them a little bit darker. Let's just see what that looks like real quick. So I'm going to select them, choose this, choose the brush, the multiply brush, and kind of just tone them down a little bit. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm going backwards. The other option is to literally cut out the hand, cut out the fingers. So I gotta make sure I'm on the right hand layer. I'll zoom in here. Use this lasso tool and kind of just cut out these fingers. Which also kind of creates a cool look. We know that his pinky is shorter. You look at your hands. Pinky is the shortest. Oh, it's all blurry. Pinky's the shortest. Let's see, we got your pinky is the shortest, then that guy, what's that, ring finger, index, pointer. Kind of climbs up the ranks here. So I could cut this one off a little bit. This middle finger is a little beefy, so I could just kind of take a little bit off this. And then this guy here, like I feel like maybe not that much, it's a little drastic. I'm kind of whittling away this hand here, as you can see. Let's see what that looks like. It looks weird up close, but maybe from far away. Oy! Don't know about that. Don't know about that. Because it would technically be all the way around, would it not? Watch this. It would kind of be kind of like that, because then the fingers would go back behind. It may be a little too much. So what I could do here is just kind of figuring this out here. I can repaint in the hands, but maybe not so chunky. Didn't realize how reliant I was on my shortcut thing. So again, I'm just kind of finessing this stuff, which might not be as exciting as the actual painting of the stuff. But I'm jumping back like to normal brush to kind of, you know. I mean, that's a little better. I just, yeah, that's tough. And then the thumb's a little big now that I'm doing this, so I will actually whittle down this thumb a little bit. Probably square it up. I feel like the rest of his hands are a little more square. So this is what I was talking about earlier about changing the shape. So now that just changed that shape. And it's a little funky, but that's kind of what this style of this book is. It's really shape-based. It's kind of the style that I work with. But, you know, he's giving off that same vibe that he's squeezing that bag and he's holding it. So, and then what I'm going to do up here to the bag actually is add a little bit of detail. And again, I normally wouldn't do this right now. I kind of do it at the end. But since, you know, I'm kind of getting through this feed here, I definitely know I won't get to the end of the drawing in this short one, but that's good. Sometimes you got to spend a little bit extra time, you know, doing the things that you're working on to make them look good. So I'm getting my trying to find a good brush here to use. I guess I'll use it's the cartoon liner brush. I'll make this a little bit smaller. The cartoon liner brush just has like a little bit of texture to it, so I know it's hard to tell, but I know. So I'm just kind of adding like these little lines to kind of help sell the bagness of it. And that kind of works. And then I can do it down below too. I should make these lines actually go all the way in. Should it go all the way out? That looks kind of cool. Maybe not for all of them. There we go. Yeah. See, but some of the stuff, like I said, I'm figuring it out as I go. It's not all 100% figured out. It's just kind of the way. It's my style. It may not be your style. You may love to have everything figured out. And kudos to you if that's how you work. But it's really how you work is the best thing, the best way to do it. All right, so that's pretty good. Let me go in here, and I know that for him, like I said, I've done him before. So I'm just looking at his hat. Yeah. And so his hat has, it does have some of these white lines here. So I will put them in. They're like this. You can't even really see them. And like this. And like this. Looks like I'm doing absolutely nothing. But I'm doing something. And then I actually saw that there is... Gotta make this way smaller. And I did like these. I must have done it in gray. I've done like these little bit of shades, some shading on each one of these little poofs of the hat. There we go. Just to give it something to look at. There we go. Do this last one over here. There, it kind of gave it a little bit of something. I'll kind of do it a little further down too, just to kind of make it look like it's coming out of the hat part. There we go. And then I'll do the same with this part. I'll keep the same gray that I kind of have and just add a little bit of lines here, just kind of faking the little ridges of a chef's hat. And again, since it's in that shape, I can draw past it and it'll only go to where the shape is. But that looks pretty good. They gave it a little something, a little more something to look at. I will say it is pretty bright. Like, I feel overall, what I need to do is, and I'll actually do it on another layer so I don't mess up the drawing, is I'll keep this gray really light, but then I'll kind of just add a little bit of this. No, I have to stick with this yellow. The yellow looks way better. Even if it makes it way more yellow, it's a better shade than that gray. I'm gonna kind of do it to this too. And again, it won't look, it looks really yellow right now, but you'll see, as soon as I turn off, as soon as I turn on to white, and the background won't be white, but you'll see how it doesn't look as yellow. It's kind of crazy how much your eye changes depending on what color the background is. All right, so there we go. That's basically the chef. I would do the coat details, but I know that it's covered up by the cake. So that being said, let's do the cake. Make sure everyone's doing okay out there. If you made it this far, congratulations. We did the chef. I feel like it took a long time to do the chef. It kind of did. It was a little slower this time. I was talking. We were having a big chip debate earlier. But if you're still here, that means you kind of like what's going on, what's happening. You can always go to JoyWorksNetworks.com. That's where I have the books. We have 2 books out right now, and actually one of them's in Spanish too, which is awesome. I think they're all going to get translated to Spanish, but they're on the site, completely finished, illustrated. They're awesome books. They hold a special place in my heart. It was the first really real illustration that I've been able to do, as illustrating a book, that is. And the stories in it are really good. And they promote positivity and joy, and they're awesome to read to your kids. There's a bunch of books lined up, but each one kind of tackles a different kind of a serious topic that, you know, your kids may be going through. This one in particular is kind of about is about like finding who you are and where you fit in life, and some kids may not feel like they fit in with their friends or with anybody. And this book is about like finding that for yourself. So this book's been awesome. It's my favorite one. I can't wait for it to come out. Not that the others aren't great, but this one maybe it's just saying to me in a different way. Yeah, so you should go to JoyWorks Networks. It's in the link. You'll see it. There's a link there. There's also our Instagram, our JoyWorks Instagram. And then there's my Instagram up here. Also the YouTube. You can go to artbyryan.com. That's also up there. You'll see everything kind of links to itself, but you guys should check those out if you want to get any of this work. If you want to get any of these books. And also the books, each book donates some of its proceeds to different charities, which is awesome. Like I said, each one's different. So that's another great part about working for this, is not only, you know, are these stories not just like filler, because I read a lot of kids books because I have a couple of kids myself, and some of them are terrible. Beautiful art sometimes, and the stories are just not there. So it's nice to have stories that actually mean something. As a parent, they're a little more fun to read, and as a kid, they actually are learning something rather than just kind of it being filler. But then also on top of that, like I said, the proceeds, some of the proceeds go to charities, and like I said, each one's different. So maybe you're just into somebody who you just want to be a charitable person, and you get a book from it as well. But you'll see each book has a different charity. I don't want to go through each of them, but if you can look online. It says what charity each one is for. And so yeah, maybe just pick a book because it's your favorite charity. Who knows? Or just pick a book because I drew it. I don't know. Or just pick a book because reading books is awesome. Actual physical books. All right. So that's enough of that. I don't want it to come off as a commercial, but I thought it'd be a good time to take a break and just talk about what exactly it is that we're doing here. All right. So let's keep going. Let's draw a cake. Let's paint a cake. So what I'm going to do now is, behind the scenes, I am just putting everything into a nice big group. I am saving everything because I've lost things before because I didn't do it. I didn't save it. All right, so now we're going to do the cake. And I could turn them off, but you know what? I'll leave them on. Just so you can see. So here we go. Here's the whole picture again. If anybody wants to see it, if you're new, if you're scrubbing and you don't know what it is, there it is. So yeah, this is a little bit of foreground cake, but this will be the fun stuff. So again, I do back to front, so we know that the top tier is going to be the bottom, blah blah blah. The plate lives at the very bottom, so let's do the plate. So here's a nice little plate shape. Boom. Again, picking arbitrary colors to fill the background with, so I can fill it. I've been doing some straight line stuff. I might be able to get my hand straight enough to do this. Another cool tool is you can rotate the canvas in Photoshop. Whoa. And sometimes it's a lot easier to draw certain shapes at different angles. This might not be the best example of it, because over here it's a little funky, but now I can just go in and add this. But like this angle here is a lot easier to draw when the canvas is shifted. Hello, Aaron. Yes, the books are great. The books are cool. Cool. All right, so we're doing some cake. Everyone doing okay out there in the world? Are you surviving, Aaron? Is the question that everybody wants to know. Oh, and also you missed it earlier, Aaron. We were having a conversation about cakes over cookies. Well, I started it. Cake over pies. So I definitely cake over pie, but I choose cookie over cake. That's me. And then it turned into this whole thing about what's better than what. Someone threw out potato chips. Next thing we knew, pretzels were involved. So if you're still there, I'd like to hear your take, because I know Erin personally, and she cooks awesome stuff and takes pictures of it, and they look beautiful. I don't know how they taste because she never gives me anything. Just saying. But yeah, you missed a great conversation. So since you came in late, why don't you tell me? Tell me where do you stand over pies, cakes, cookies? Let's do it in this order. Anybody who's here can do this order. It's the stuff we already talked about. You got pie, cake, cookie, potato chips, pretzels. Salt and vinegar chips got thrown in there, but those can fit under potato chips. So those 5 things, I want you to put those in order from your favorite to least favorite. I'll do it again. Cakes, pies, cookies, potato chips, pretzels. That was the conversation. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going while Aaron thinks about this. And if anybody else wants to, some people just kind of randomly threw in a couple here and there. Feel free to, I wish I could create a poll. Let's just go ahead and put it out there. Favorite to least favorite. It's 5 things. It's not that hard. You guys can do it. I know Erin's really thinking about it right now. She does not want to mess this up. It's very important. All right, so then we know that on top of this, so that's the bottom layer. Actually, the top would be the bottom layer, and then the frostings. So I can do this. I'll do this other cake first. Just like that. Okay, here we go, everybody. Aaron has spoken. Let's see. Pretzels, potato chips, cookie pie. Oh, Janet. I don't think I can work for anymore, Janet. That's got to be the exact opposite of me. How are we in partnership? Cake, cookies, pie, pretzels. Don't like chips. Just got my mind blown. I've had Erin over for parties, and I've never really watched to see what she's eaten, but I'm surprised that she would never touch a chip. That's just rocking my world right now. I've never heard anybody that doesn't like chips. Yeah, I guess opposites do work well together. Same with my wife Sam's the same way. Chips, chips, chips. Okay. Cookies, pretzels, pie. Man. Never eaten a chip at a party. That's insane. I would say that parties are like 90% chips. So you must be bummed when you go to these parties because it's just chips. I mean, that's one of the jokes I always think about is, you know, when people come to a party, if you don't know what you want to bring, then you just buy a bag of chips and you just bring in chips, and then there's this big mountain of chips on the table. You know, then the healthy friend will bring his veggie platter, and then desserts. The only chips are chocolate chips. Awesome. That's awesome. Oh man, chips. And then what was it again? We have cookies. So I mean, we're pretty much on par except the whole chip thing, Aaron. I'll do cookie over cake though, but cookie, cake, pie, yeah. Chips, cookies, pretzels, yeah. Janet's throwing me for a loop because it's the exact opposite, which is hilarious to me. Of course, that's the way it is. And then Aaron's no chip thing. Oh boy. I mean, you're missing out a whole world of deliciousness with chips. I don't know. What happened to you? What happened to you? Did you like fall into like a big bucket full of chips when you were a baby or something? You couldn't get out, and so now you just don't want to eat chips? They cut your mouth. I don't know why I find that so funny. Maybe you're just eating chips wrong, Aaron. You should eat them like sideways, like this way. Let me demonstrate sideways. You're probably eating them this way just to be different and cool. I know you. Ruin the roof of your mouth. Man, yeah, I think you might just be eating chips wrong. Aaron doesn't know how to eat chips. I learn something new every day. I've known her for years. Everybody. This is the person I was talking about last time, who I was talking about how it's so weird when you're friends with people who you aspire to be like, who you aspire to be like. Erin is an awesome illustrator. She's done a bunch of golden books, other books too that I read my kids, Bubble Guppies, all kinds. She's awesome. You should check out her site, erinunten.com, if she even has a site. No, she has an Etsy. ERENUNTEN. Anyways, yeah, she was the one that I was talking about that I'm always inspired by. Her art is fantastic. I learned a lot just by looking at her art and basically copying it, to be honest. Not by copying it and selling it, but you emulate the people that you like, and I would try to draw eyes like her and whatever. Just when I was trying to figure out who I was. And now I hate her guts because she doesn't know how to eat chips. You thanked me too soon, Aaron. You should have saw that coming. I was setting it up. I was being too nice, and you know me. I'm never that nice. And so now a small part of me just wants to just like join a chip of the month club and then just send her chips once a month. I mean, once a month isn't going to be enough for it to be funny to me. So it might have to be, it might have to be a once a week kind of thing. I'll just go to Costco and buy a big bag of chips and just every week just send you a new bag of chips. Anyways, okay, here we go. I'm putting frosting putting frosting on the cake. It's killing me. Aaron's killing me with this chip thing. All right, so yeah, we got the cake. I need to put all this other fancy stuff on it, which I think I'll do. Yeah, I'll do right now. I can do the carrots right now. So I could copy and paste these carrots, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw them by hand. That's the one thing with Photoshop too, is, you know, it's easy to copy and paste. This from what I found out. This is just my take on it. It's easy to copy and paste stuff if it's repeating. And I won't say I never do it. I just did it the other day. And earlier today I was talking about copying and just using the hat again. But there is something about when you're doing some of these books or just illustrating in general to draw it over and over again, just because they'll always be a little bit different, and that will make it look, to me, a little more authentic. I don't know if that's really the right word that I'm thinking of, but like as soon as you start doing too much digital things to it, then it starts to look digital. And I think I said this last time, that might be what you're going for, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with your art looking digital. For me personally, I like to kind of tiptoe that line between digital and being real. I don't think anyone would ever be fooled by what I do as being completely real media, but I would like them to think of like that I spent time doing textures and tried to make it look painterly. That's just kind of the style that I go for, and the style that I like from the people who I admire, and I just want to again emulate. Erin being one of those people, she has a very painterly style, but I wouldn't say that that she had fooled me into thinking that what she was painting was a real media. Maybe there's a couple times she has done that, and there's some few artists that I follow that sometimes they will, and it's hard to tell, but for the most part you can tell. There's just little things about it, and again, it doesn't make it bad, it's just different. So for me, it's just trying to manipulate digitally how to make things look not digital is kind of the thing. I mean, you can even argue that with special effects and CG. Like, they're trying to make it look not like CG. So I'm doing these little like leaf shapes. Again, these might change. I'm just doing all the different selections. And then I'll just, since I know that I'm gonna make these green, I might as well just do it. And then for this cake, we also see that there's like this little strippy stripe thing. And so what I can do is actually inside to make it look even more clean. Again, this is like a digital, this makes it look digital to me, but sometimes I like doing it. See how I drew the shape bigger, but since it's being masked by the layer below it, as soon as I fill it with something, it stops at the line perfectly. It stops at the edge, so I don't have to like futz that at all. So this is generally the cake. Let's see what it looks like. I'm gonna turn off all the digital stuff. All the drawings. Yep. And I gotta make sure that this frosting goes behind the nozzle. But it looks pretty good. I'll kind of fix these carrot shapes a little bit. And I got to make sure that I make this frosting the same orange color, so I can just actually color pick it, which again is another great thing about Photoshop. Maybe I should talk about how great Photoshop is. And I'll just paint this, give it a little bit of texture. I think it's a little too much, but I'll go back in right now and kind of lighten it up a little bit. Yeah, sometimes I'll even do that where I'll kind of, again, I'm kind of just making the brush do a lot of the work. The thing with this brush too that I have to be careful about is if I do it too small, it becomes a little muddled and starts to look a little too smooth of a gradient, if that makes sense. And again, that's another like personal preference thing. I'm putting a little bit of a highlight on top here. And again, I can do this all in separate layers, but I do have a little bit of confidence of what I can do. A little bit to the top. And then do this one. I gotta go back to multiply. So sometimes I'll do this little kind of spinny thing just to create like a little bit of overlap of the multiply, which makes it look pretty cool, in my opinion. You may think it looks bad, but in my opinion. And then I do a little bit of light here, and it's on normal, and then that'll just kind of just do a little bit. I have to be careful because I don't want to get it too white because it'll start to blend in with his coat here, so might have to cheat it a little bit. Again, that's why I paint this stuff after the fact of the people that I know the colors are locked down. So I know that the chef coat is a certain color, and so if I had picked an arbitrary color, I can't go back and change his coat. That's what his coat is always going to be. And then just kind of paint around him. I will say I looked at a picture of a carrot cake. I just need to, normally it's like white frosting, I think, on the outside for the most part, and then they put raisins in it and ruin it. Aaron, do you put raisins in your cake if you're still here? Do you put raisins in your carrot cake? Because it'll just give me another reason to be so angry with you. Doesn't that make you want to type in what you do when it has a threat attached to it? Yeah, it's normally just white, which is not good. So I might do, there's a couple here that I'm looking at that, actually if I bring this down, oh I can. Again, I'll try not to, I don't want to get in trouble for being unsafe here. Hopefully nothing dirty comes up when I type in carrot cake. But you see they have this white frosting, and using PhotoRef is a good thing for any artists who are watching this. PhotoRef is always good. Like, you think you may know things, especially me, and then you look and you're like, you know what? I was so wrong about that. Look at all this carrot cake, everybody. No raisins. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, we're friends again. We are back to being friends again. We can talk about WandaVision. If anybody's not watching that show, you're missing out. See, I might have to do like something like this just to break it up. I'm just worried that if it's too white, then it will clash with this coat. So let's see. I'll do it like this brownish color. I'm gonna pick like a nice brown. Probably leaning towards orange. There we go. Oh, what happened here? Oh, I didn't put it under the... I lied about that, guys. There we go. Now it fits perfectly. All right, so let's just try this. I'll go back to this 25 brush again and make it a little bit smaller and kind of just give this some texture. Yeah, I think this might work. It still has that cake look. I'm gonna do a little bit of like this shadowing underneath the frosting, even though it wouldn't really do that. Again, this is another one of those things where I'm kind of cheating it a little bit just to kind of sell it. And I'm gonna up the, this is what I'm talking about, was getting muddy. Like it looks a little too much, too smooth. I like to have that kind of rough obvious rough texture. So sometimes, like if I do this at even 100%, it gets crazy. Why am I missing brushes here? I'm missing brushes. Oh, there it is. Like it's this one creates like a way harsher line, but sometimes I like that. There we go. Just adding a little more texture to this. I kind of tend to go one direction for some of this. Sometimes I'll do some crisscrossy action, some crisscross applesauce. Let me do this top one. So it's definitely a trick to using these brushes in Photoshop. It won't get darker until I pick up the pen and press down again. So if I go over the same spot, it won't technically get darker until I pick it up and press again. So you may hear me tapping on the pen. It's because I'm kind of picking it up and letting it go. Again, I've used this program and this stuff enough to know. And this almost looks like wood. I'm a little worried. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It's just hard because he's white. He has a white coat. So, I mean, honestly, the frosting should be white. Again, this is the problem when you're trying to figure out color as you're doing it. Which is, a lot of my friends don't have this problem because they would have figured this out a long time ago. And I'm figuring it out right now. Just adding some things to this plate, you know, and just because I'm trying to teach myself to do some detail, I am going to use this cartoon liner brush. I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to do like a blue purplish line. Just like that. Boom. Just to give it something. And I'll actually select it and then go back in with this. I mean, and this is, again, so unnecessary, but I will just add a little bit of this. And you can't even tell what's going on. I can hardly even tell what's going on, but it's adding a little bit of color variation to this dark to light to dark. It's just, to me, it's those little things that will then make it look a little better. It'll make it pop a little bit. And then let me go in. How much time do I got here? Like 20 more minutes. I barely got through this guy. Again, it's all that cookie cake talk again, man. Okay, so yeah, because this might be, I feel like this might be getting a little too orangey, so I might have to go in and make that frosting white. Let me just add a little bit of texture to these carrots that are like the decoration on the cake. And I do like this neon green. I know I normally wouldn't pick a color like that, but I will say that for some reason, I feel like that's what, like a frosting would be, that neon color. It's like that unnaturally sugary. And this brush will knock it down a little bit. Again, I hope it's even coming off across on video, just how subtle these changes are to the color. That something is happening though, trust me. And then see, this I think needs to be white, so I will pick orange. So this is what I'm talking about, not picking pure white. I would never pick pure white. And in this world, you know, like there's orange frosting, so I would pick a warmer white, I would call it, but like an orange or a yellowish white. Again, like this creamy. If it's pure white, it's just not going to look right. So it already looks pure white, but if I turn on pure white, you'll see that there's a difference. There's definitely a difference. You can see it. You can tell the difference between these two. But I turn it off, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's white. But now I can go in here, and when I do this thing with the brush, it's actually going to make it turn a little bit orangey, which will be good. A little bit more creamy. You know what? And since we're at it, let's try it with this cake frosting. So what I can do, you're not going to be able to see it because I'm doing it off the side. Excuse me for a sec. Is I can just hide this layer, or I can do a whole new layer on top of it and turn off just the orange that I did and try a whole new color. So I'm going to try this white, and I will really do this up, so it'll be a very like orangish white. And then I can cheat a little bit by making the top a little bit more orangey to kind of make it. I just switched to the 50. Just give it a little separation between what's behind it. I mean, I think that's it, to be honest. So I'm gonna do it to the same one. So I'm doing it so I'm not destroying. So if I ever want to go back, again, Photoshop, I can with just turning off and on a layer rather than have to repaint it again. See, and with this, I'll do the same thing where I'll kind of make this top a little bit of a darker orange. Just a little bit. Yep, here we go. And then I'm gonna do that down here. I'm gonna just make this a little more of this orangish color, but still stick to white. And this plate, I did do it like in a yellowish kind of a hue, but what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna change it up because I made this line blue. So I'm gonna pick like a white that lives in this bluish world. And then once again, I will go in with my brush and kind of just lay in just some really quick texture on it. And since it's so light, it's hardly showing up, but it's there. There you go. Now let's back up and look. Boom, cake. So now I need to change the frosting in the bag because, you know, it doesn't match the frosting that's coming out. It's like magic frosting. And again, same thing I did with this. I'm actually just going to duplicate the layer, and then I can do that, and then do this, and do this. I know I'm saying this and that, but I'm just switching layers around and stuff, and do it a little bit darker because I guess the illusion would be that if it's in a bag, it's going to look a little darker than it coming out. And I actually don't really mind this because the nozzle does look like this a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix it up a little bit. So I'm moving a little bit faster here, everybody. Not that I'm going to finish the piece, but I feel like we kind of know what's happening right now. And I'm going to change the color of this. And I'm going to change the color. Multiply. Let's see. Yep, that was good. There we go. We got a cake. I see another tangent. I feel like there isn't that much separation actually between, like, right in this area, so I could darken it up a little bit. I might actually even be able to move this up a little. I know it sounds weird. It's gonna move his shoulder up, which will make this darkness appear a little bit more. Yeah, kind of separate that right here. It's all problem solving, guys. All problem solving. That looks pretty good though. And I know that with his jacket, what I did, I forgot that I had put some lines in there. So let me look at the previous piece that I did. Previous drawing, just to make sure that that's right. Yes, it's like a brownish color. So, and I did that just, again, I'm just trying to add a little more detail in the stuff I do. And although chef's coats don't normally have this, I've added it just for visual, just to be a little more visually interesting. It's just a little line. That's it. Doesn't seem like much, but stuff like that to me just kind of sells it a little more, because it does look a little plain. I mean, he does have a line here, so I might as well put that in. And it's like a line here, and he has like little buttons going down, so I'll draw. This is so weird. This is gonna be so out of context for anybody, but they have like little buttons. And so if I just kind of subtly, or not so subtly, put them in, it's enough. I like it. It's enough that it hides it a little bit. Like this arm hides it. It gives it a little bit of separation. It gives it a little more detail. And again, that's the stuff that I've been trying to work on. I've been striving for a little bit. But it looks pretty good. And I finally just hit save. The first time in a long time. But it looks like the character so far. It looks pretty good. So let's look at this again real quick. There's a drawing. There's the dude. Actually, I'll do this so you can even see it even better. I'm just grouping stuff right now. Some housekeeping kind of business. So if I turn both of these guys off, here's the drawing. See, and I'm seeing little things like his jaw right here bothering me. This is the kind of nitpicky stuff that I shouldn't do right now. But since I know that we won't be able to finish the whole thing, I might as well. Just to kind of show you how, even when it's done, see, it's like nothing. Like it's something that anybody else would not care about. But if you're an artist out there, you know, sometimes there's just little things like that like really, really bug you. His eyes are really, I just want to make sure that his eyes look a little bright, but it should be okay. And then for his mouth, I am going to go back in here just real quick and make it a little bit darker so I can pop from him a little bit. Yep. Looks pretty good. He's squeezing the thing, squeezing the cake. We have the carrots. That looks pretty good. Okay. How much time we got? Like 10 more minutes? You know what? I'll just start laying out some background stuff real quick, and I'll talk about it. I don't know. Do we need to go back to the cake thing? I mean, I think we kind of realized that none of us are right. All of us are wrong, except me. And it goes like this: cookies, cake, pie, chips, and pretzels. I'll eat them all. There's not a single one of those things that I hate. But that is the correct answer for anybody that's still here, that's still watching. That is the answer. You can go ahead and tell your friends. You can look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm wrong. What I will do is, instead of like doing these little things up front real quick, I'm going to kind of show you how I do the back, because by the time I do one of these again, this book is going to be done. This is like one of the last of like 4 illustrations that need to be done for the book to be finished, which means that it should be coming out, you know, within like a month or so. We still have to figure out, you know, the layout, copy, not the layout, but like copy and getting it printed and stuff. So this book will be coming out fairly soon. So this will already be done by the time, you know, by next week. This will be done by the end of this week. But let me show you backgrounds, kind of how I've been doing backgrounds for some of these. So before we go, I'm going to actually turn these guys off. Use this lasso tool. I'm just going to start drawing this like shape, and I like kind of doing not perfect angles. And I'll just do a shape. And again, I'm going to do that same thing that I've done before, where I'm just filling it in with whatever. And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to just kind of pick some of these shapes. And this is just stuff that's like living in the kitchen behind. Because all of this to me is going to be one kind of color. I mean, I can make it whatever color I want, but a lot of this stuff is just silhouettes of what. So just, you know, stuff that might be in the back, spoons, plates, cups, whatever. and I put this in the back, and I will do the same thing where I just kind of do that. Pots and pans, I think I'll also do the same thing. I can add some detail in them later, but I can just, you know, kind of just do the silhouettes of pans here. I think I lost that pan real quick. I can just do it again. And I've been doing this long enough that I can kind of figure out these shapes beforehand. These are just pots that are kind of just hanging. Also do those. And then just I can tell that in my drawing I hadn't done enough, so I will do another row of just kind of this kind of shape that I'm just kind of creating another layer of the background. Which you can't see. And then do I need to do the table? The table, no, because the table will live in the foreground. So yeah, that should be the background. And it looks very, very simple, like nothing's kind of happening, but as soon as I start picking up these colors, you know, I know I can't do it too dark. But I'll start picking these out. I'll actually do it a little bit darker. And then with this, I can do this even darker. And then this foreground will be darker. And this foreground will be darker. Now we're just kind of creating these separations between all of this. And now let me turn off the drawing. And this is kind, I mean, this isn't it, but this is where I kind of start from. And I can push these shapes around if I want, or redraw them, or, you know, I'll be like, I don't like the way this angle is, so then I'll just get this lasso tool and redraw the shape and then fill it in with color. Since the whole background is what it is already, it's already filled. If I just do that, then all of a sudden it'll fill in the shape. That shape's now changed. So again, I'm gonna definitely spend more time on this, and we know that the dude lives here, and I actually might do something like this to create a little more visually interesting, and then fill it with color again. And then what I'll do is I will then, I don't know if it's going to be purple per se, but I get this brush and I'm just going to kind of fill it in. Let me rotate this canvas a little bit. We're almost out of time here, everybody. But I'll just go in and kind of just fill in these textures with fill in some textures here with these shapes. Again, we're not going to see any of this. This is living behind a table. This is actually probably a little too dark, because what I need to do for this is I need to have it get darker as it goes in the background. But I'll do this just to add a little bit of something, you know, just again putting these textures and painting them. I'll do this a little lighter just because I know that it's going to get darker as I paint over it. And it needs to be dark, so I need to like bump this up to 100. It's actually a little too much. So sometimes I'll choose the same color, like this is the same color as before. But I know that if I keep using this multiply brush, it's going to get darker and darker. Stuff's starting to slow down a little bit. My computer's getting angry with me. You know, and it just creates like another layer, and then back here, I mean, these can even stay this color. I try not to use too much colors in the backgrounds because I don't want it to compete with what's going on in the foreground. Again, that's just more kind of color theory stuff that I've learned. Not even that it's taught, but just from my experience. You don't want stuff competing. And then with these, I kind of like that color. Like these might even be like in the considered foreground. If I had them overlap, then it might look pretty cool. But I'm just gonna kind of, you know, I'll pick some different shading options here. This is kind of the fast version of this, but it looks like nothing. But let me put the dudes back up. And now they're kind of living in this world. I try not to blur stuff again, because I feel like that's when stuff starts to look a little digital, when I start blurring things. But I might do it a little bit. What I also have done, and this is just something that I do, again, it's personal preference, is I do this thing where I add almost like a mist. That's what I call it. It's this other big brush that I have called the Beast, and I'll do like a really light color, like a white, and I'll just kind of fill it in like this. I know it's really subtle. Sometimes I'll overdo it and then just knock it back. I'll do it obnoxiously so you can kind of see it. It works way better like when you're doing natural scenes, like between mountains and stuff. But I found that it also works in stuff like this. Like this could be steam in the kitchen. It could be anything. But what it does is it creates that separation, that really hard separation between the two. So you see how it's like this whole misty thing. And then I can also always go in here and knock it back a little bit. But I definitely have used this trick several times to just kind of create, and I'm probably going to keep this, because if it's a kitchen, then it's going to be steamy, and I'll do a couple layers of it. So even above that layer, there's going to be a table here, but I can do that here, and it almost kind of makes it look a little dreamy. Again, you're not going to see any of this. I'm kind of just looking at the tops of it, because it's going to live now is going to be, let's see, it lives in front. It lives behind these guys, but in front of this guy. So yeah, let's just say there's a table right here. The table, or the table's going to live like that, basically. Is that how it is in the drawing? Pretty close. I have it way up here. Trying to keep it kind of even. There we go. A little bit of a tangent, but I can move it around. And it's going to be like a silverish table. Seeing that mist now gets cut off. And the words live down below. But yeah, so that's basically it. We came up to our time limit here. And of course I can just keep going on and on and on, but yeah. Let me just add some texture to this. We're getting closer to what it's going to be. This is going to get all chopped off at the bottom, but there's going to be other pots and pans and kind of other things. I need to add a reason so that these pots are even hanging above. But yeah, we got kind of close today. I mean, we got a lot more done the first time, but there's a lot more chatting and a little more fun to be had this time around. But yeah, so we'll stop here, because otherwise it's going to be another half hour of me drawing all these other little props and stuff. Yeah, there's kind of just a little glimpse into something a little more complicated. I wish I got into the more complicated part. I feel like maybe we kind of touched on this the first time. But it was something new. You got to see me kind of figure out some color stuff that I didn't really have a problem with in the first one. But this one was definitely a lot more going on. Again, I got to draw these other little kind of props, which I'll work on. But here we go. This is what we got done. It's pretty good. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna fool around with the back a little bit. I did that quickly just to kind of show you what I'm doing, how it's working, how I work. But that is it. So thank you everybody for joining. Whoever joined in. Thank you, Janet. Yeah, go have some pretzels. But thanks for everybody that joined. You know, I know it's 2 hours is a long time, so if you hopped in and hopped off, that's fine with me. If you want to come in towards the end, you can always do that and see how far I've gotten. But thank you guys for joining. I'll probably be doing this every 2 weeks, I'm guessing. So we'll set up a time for the next one. I'll be posting about when that's going to happen. And in 2 weeks, I'm either going to be starting the new book, or it might just be like a sketch session where I'm kind of sketching and figuring out things. So I'd love for you guys to join. We can chat, you can ask me questions, I can draw some stuff. Might be a little more involved in that one because I won't have a piece to finish. But again, thank you for joining on the conversation. If you're watching this recorded, you can subscribe or like or all that other stuff if you want to find out when this is happening again. And if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them on Twitter. You can leave them on YouTube, even on Facebook if you're watching us on Facebook. And if you want the books, you can go to JoyWorksNetworks.com to get any of the other books. This book will probably be coming out sometime next month. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll get you notified when that's going to come out, and you can pick this one up. But there's already 2 already done that you should get, and just get the whole collection as they come out and collect them all and give them as gifts. But thank you once again for joining, and we will see you next time. Thank you.